Hey guys, how's it going? Cheers, back again with episode number 38 of the AC Milan career mode here in Xbox One. We're coming towards the end of the January transfer window, but before there is any transfer news in this particular episode, we have a big game against Napoli in the Serie A. Now, Napoli are one of the best sides in the league right now, and they sit second in the table, as you'll be able to see in just a second when the league pops up. 1 point behind Juventus in first, and of course we sit fifth, a full 8 points off Napoli, 9 points of the champions Juve. But the first thing that happened in this game was actually a very, very negative one. As you can see, only 4 minutes on the clock, Mario Balotelli goes down. He's clearly in a lot of pain, and he's writhing around on the floor, and it actually is going to come to light that he's dislocated his shoulder. That definitely is a painful experience, as Ep38 found out in the away leg of the Champions League semi-final against Atletico Madrid. And you'll be able to see it just crunches on the floor. His arm gets caught underneath him, and that just pops the joint out of socket, and that's particularly painful. Personally, I've never dislocated anything, but having known people that have, and they say it's particularly painful, and I'm not inclined to disagree. But Alexander Lacazette came on for Mario Balotelli, and literally just another 4 minutes later, he found himself on the score sheet to give us a 1-0 lead. It was a perfectly weighted cross that dropped just the other side of the defender onto his readily awaiting forehead to put it into the back of the net, and he almost made it 2-0 there. In the 36th minute, you'll see from the replay, it just bends away from the goalkeeper, curving from left to right, and it's actually Hugo Lloris they've got in goal. You might be able to recognise him from that dive. I'm not too sure where you got a decent look at his face or not, but they actually brought him in this particular January transfer window, so he was making one of his first games for the club, one of his opening debut games, but he couldn't keep out Alexander Lacazette for a second time in first half stoppage time. Beautifully weighted ball into him yet again, and another perfect finish. Cheeky little lob over the Frenchman, and there was absolutely nothing he could do about that. And we pushed into the second half, hoping to extend the lead if we possibly could. A heavy first touch from Honda kind of lets the defender in, but he does a really, really nice, quick, sharp turn back the other way to get it onto his favoured left foot. Finds the far top corner with an expert finish, a glorious finesse, and we actually find ourselves rather unexpectedly 3-0 up at home against one of the toughest sides in the league, and we actually were going to have another chance here. Lacazette was going to get the chance to get his hat-trick. Again, another perfectly weighted through ball, this time from Kevin Constant, but unfortunately a rather wild finish from the young Frenchman, and that was actually going to be his last action. He was obviously made an early entrance into the game and was actually really, really tired from the game that we played at the end of the last episode not too long ago, so he was particularly tired, effectively playing 2 games back to back, having come on so early. So I made a change and brought on Robinho for him to actually play our third striker of the game, and Robinho went down injured there as well. He was going to try and get back up, but you can see him still struggling, and eventually the referee was going to call play back, and it's going to turn out that he actually has only a bruised shoulder, fortunately, but still shoulder injuries seem to be the in thing in this particular episode, because Robinho is going to be out for I think only about 8 or 9 days. Fortunately, we'll see an email a little bit later on that confirms that. I think it's 8 or 9 days, but Balotelli's going to be out for even longer with the dislocated shoulder, as you might expect. But Robinho comes off, and we actually make our third change, or have our fourth, in fact, player to go up top. We've had Mario Balotelli, then we've had Alexander Lacazette, then Robinho, and now Julian Draxler is making his, he's kind of, I guess it's the first time he's played up top on his own, so it's kind of a striking debut, but even he, just a few minutes after coming on, was able to get himself on a score sheet, and I don't know whether I felt quite cheap about scoring that goal, because the way that I don't know whether you've noticed this when you play FIFA, either online or career mode or whatever, but whenever you try and do a chip shot, the goalkeeper just does this stupid flop to the floor animation, where they do that every single time when you have a chip shot, and I feel cheap scoring like that, and when it happens for the opposition against me, I feel rather cheated by it. So hopefully it's that sort of goalkeeping animation is something they'll look into for FIFA 15, because it feels slightly overpowered right now. But in fact, Pedro was able to score another goal. We were going to win the game 5-0 in fact, so big wins back to back at the minute. We had a big 6-0 win yesterday, but Mario Balotelli is out for 8 weeks with his dislocated shoulder, and in fact Robinho was out for 9 days, so hopefully he can get himself back and fit again. But Lacazette is again still a little bit tired, but having to start this game in the Coppa Nazionale again at home against Lazio in the League Cup rather, so hopefully he can kind of draw on all of his hidden resources and hopefully manage to put in another good performance and get some goals, because we are going to actually have to start relying on him to get some goals and put the ball into the back of the net for us, because if Mario Balotelli is going to be out for a while, and he most definitely is our biggest and most threatening striker and most reliable goal source, then Lacazette's going to have to step up. But he did so last season. Whenever we lost Mario Balotelli, he definitely was able to step up to the plate and score some important goals for us. So hopefully he could do the same in this one. More importantly, get us back on level terms rather than just scoring any sort of goal, because we find ourselves 1-0 down here. Tidy little finish off the post. But who's that man? It's Alexander Lacazette. Tidy finish across the goalkeeper into the bottom corner, and we are back on level terms. Just 15 minutes into the game, it's already 1-1. And I thought to myself, perhaps we're in for another high-scoring game, this time with goals for both sides, as opposed to just 11 goals we've scored in the past 2 games against Genoa and then Lazio. So maybe it was going to be a closer affair, but Nigel de Jong came close to actually putting us in front there. Decent effort coming back off the bar, and unfortunately Adam Yaich's kind of reaction follow-up just wasn't quite on target or kept down enough, so we weren't able to get ourselves in front there. But talking of perfect weighted balls in the previous match, that is a gorgeous through ball to Adrian Ramos, and what a finish. Really, really expertly placed into that top right-hand corner, right into the stanchion, and they actually found themselves going in at the break, 2-1 up through that good goal. Ramos has had a very, very good season in real life. Hoffenheim, I think, is the club he's at. Correct me in the comments if I'm mistaken, but I think he's at Hoffenheim, and it is, of course, I think, going to be the Bundesliga team of the season on Ultimate Team tonight. Of course, it's Wednesday, so there will be a new team of the season. I think it's Bundesliga. It's either Bundesliga or Serie A. I could be wrong, because Ultimate Team isn't really at the centre of my universe when it comes to YouTube and FIFA, although I do still play it on the occasion, so I do quite like to keep up with at least some of what's going on, to stay in the loop, so to speak. But we're trying to get ourselves back in the loop here, to get ourselves back on level terms and maintain our Coppa Nazionale run. Because, of course, we got to the final last year. We were able to reach the final against Juventus. Unfortunately, lost 2-0 at the Stadio Olimpico, of course, the ground where Lazio play their home games. But they're at the San Siro now, and they're under pressure as well here. And they're going to give the ball away again. Julian Draxler is going to do a perfectly executed Maradona turn, try and find the bottom left-hand corner. And unfortunately, Claudio Marchetti is the goalkeeper on hand this time. Much better than Hugo Lloris, and a firm fist manages to bat the ball away. And he had to rely on firm fists again there. It was meant for an early cross, but apparently Giovanni Dos Santos doesn't have the early crosser trait, and he just kind of rifled it straight towards the top corner, so it needed saving. But something else that needed saving was that shot there from Marcel Janssen, but unfortunately the power on it was too much, and this time Marchetti can't keep us out. And we are able to get ourselves back on level terms right at the death. As you can see, we're into the 90th minute. Fortunate with the way the ball broke to him here. The first touch from one defender was too heavy, knocked it against the shin of another, and the desperate slide tackle wasn't able to get anywhere near it. Fortunately, our left back of all people, Marcel Janssen, was on hand to put the ball into the back of the net and take us to extra time. Like the Capital One Cup and like the League Cup in England, it does go to extra time, not a replay. And Brian Cristante onto the pitch for a substitute appearance. Open goal, effectively. He really should have done better with that. I would have expected that, even with his head, to have at least gotten it on target, but I ideally wanted him to let it drop, hit it on the volley, and rifle it into the back of the net. But he didn't do so. We went to penalties, which unfortunately, that was the only opportunity in the entire half an hour of extra time through Brian Cristante. And Lazio seemed to favour a stuttered penalty run. We see Antonio Candreva there doing it once. Nocerino with a gorgeous penalty just inside the post. Keeper went the right way, wasn't quite able to get there. They're going to have another stuttered penalty run up here with Edison. And I am going to go the right way as well. And again, can't quite get there. This time diving past the ball, and it just misses the goalkeeper's midriff. Alexander Lacazette is going to strike the bar. And in real time, I thought that had crossed the line. But when I came back to editing and watched it frame by frame, you can see it is about a foot the wrong side of the line as far as we're concerned. And unfortunately, it went down as a miss. And they then scored their next penalty. But Giovanni Dos Santos, another expertly placed penalty right into that top right-hand corner. Some good pens in this shootout. And then Canio is going to step up for Lazio. And we are going to go the right way and save it this time. And we're going to make it all level at 3-3. But Cristante missed the opening goal and then hits the post with his penalty to put it down to sudden death. If Radu can win this score this penalty, Lazio will win the tie. And it's the worst penalty of the lot. really tamely struck, no power behind it, no attempt to try and put it into a corner. He just kind of taps it down the middle, and I dive out of the way. So unfortunately, we are out of the Coppa Nazionale and the quarter-final stage. We aren't going to replicate our final run of last year, so it actually gives us the chance to concentrate on league action, because we are not having a bad season in the league, and quite frankly, we are picking up pace as we move into the next couple of episodes. We're scoring a lot of goals and putting up a lot of points on the board. So hopefully we can maintain that run of form. Although of course we did lose this one, but hopefully as we move out of January into February, we can continue our good run of form in the league. Because of course we've been scoring a lot of goals: 5 against Napoli, 6 against Genoa. But we're on transfer deadline day. We actually only got a couple of offers. One for Guita there, which we did reject. Of course, he's our first team goalkeeper, not going anywhere. But Roma apparently sold Pjanic to Barcelona for 15 million, so they could afford to bring in Stevan Jovetic, the Montenegrin striker from Manchester City to Roma. I don't know why I paused with that. I had an absolute mind blank, but clearly £31 million was something that they had to move on Pjanic to be able to afford to bring in the Montenegrin striker. We did get an offer for Brian Cristante. I thought about accepting it because he just doesn't play for me, but with the way that we picked up injuries in this episode, I just couldn't guarantee that we weren't going to have the similar sort of fate with central midfielders. So I do kind of need that extra backup just in case, especially if I'm going to have to push Julian Draxler up top occasionally and have that extra space in midfield to fill an extra slot. So Cristante is going to stay at the club, and this is how the transfer window closes league table wise. We actually sit fourth now, only 5 points behind Roma with a game in hand. So we are closing in on the teams at the top of the table. Hopefully we can continue our good run of league form tomorrow, but we'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. Of course, it's Wednesday, so there will be a World Cup Stickerbook episode uploaded for you later on tonight, so feel free to check your sub boxes for that. Subscribe if you haven't already to make sure you don't miss out on anything on this channel. Of course, there was a My Player episode uploaded last night as well, so subscribe either on the link on screen, or there's an annotation. Or not an annotation, the annotation is on screen. There's an annotation on screen, there's a link in the description, there's your normal subscribe button. If you missed yesterday's episode of this series, then there's an annotation on screen for that as well. Of course, if you missed anything else from me over the past few days, then feel free to check the channel page. And of course, we hit 9,000 subscribers, so thank you very much for that. And feel free to come and follow me on Twitter as well, at Tisno Gaming. There's a link to that in the description as well. And we're closing in on 1,000 followers over there, so that'd be nice to break through another milestone there if we possibly could. But I'm going to wrap this one up now. We're over 12 minutes, so we're going to bring it to a close. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and I will see you tonight with World Cup Stickerbook tomorrow with more AC Milan career mode and my player.